The Wind on Haunted Hill, written by Ruskin Bond. Let's know about the author Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond is a famous contemporary Indian writer. He was born on 19th May 1934. He studied in Bishop Cotton School, Shimla. He wrote more than 500 short stories as well as essays and poems. And he received Sahitya Akademi Award in 1992, Padma Shri in 1999, Padma Bhushan in 2014. Next, let's see some glossary from this lesson. Moaned, make a long low sound. Haunted means possessed. Ruins means decayed, collapsed building or place. Terrible means fearful. Saddle means low point on a ridge between two summits. Crumbling, breaking apart into small pieces. Scuttled, which means ran with short, quick steps. Whistling thrush means a small singing bird. Struggling means spreading out in different directions. Now let's move the lesson. Section 1. To get the best effect of the story, we need to know the situation and the climate in and around the Himalayan ranges. The hills were full of trees, tall pines and deodars. The farmers grew many fruit crops like citrus fruits in valleys and stone fruits like peach, plums, apricot and cherry in considerable quantity, and other wild trees, plants and flowers too grew over there. Now see the paragraph. Hoo, 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 cried the wind as it swept down from the Himalayan snows. It hurried over the hills and passes, and hummed and moaned in the tall pines and deodars. On Haunted Hill there was little to stop the wind, only a few stunted trees and bushes, and the ruins of what had once been a small settlement. On the slopes of the next hill there was a small village. People kept large stones on their tin roofs to prevent them from blowing away. There was nearly always a wind in these spots. Even on sunny days, doors and windows rattled, chimneys choked, clothes blew away. The first section is opened with a description of wind that blew down from the Himalayan snows over the hills and trees. It passed the haunted hill, the ruins, and reached the small village on the slope of the next hill. The region that we read in the story is near the Himalayan ranges. So the wind normally used to be cold as it comes from the Himalayan snows. There were villages on the slopes of the hill. The houses were small and made of tin roofs. On every house, people kept large stones to save the roofs from the wind or from blowing away. Generally, it used to be windy on all days, even on sunny days, which means in summer too. Doors and windows rattled, chimneys blocked, and closed blew away. The month of March is considered unpleasant in the hills because it brings torrential rain with cold wind. Torrential means heavy rainfall. Okay, we move to the next paragraph. Three children stood beside a low stone wall, spreading clothes out to dry. On each garment they placed a rock. Even then, the clothes fluttered like flags and pennants. Usha, dark haired and rose cheeked, struggled with her grandfather's long loose shirt. She was 11 or 12. Her younger brother, Suresh, was doing his best to hold down a bed sheet, while Binya, a slightly older girl, Usha's friend and neighbor, was handing them the clothes one at a time. On one sunny and windy day, Usha and her brother Suresh and her friend Binya were spreading the clothes out to dry and kept stones on each dress to hold it firmly. Once they were sure everything was on the wall, firmly held down by rocks, they climbed up on the flat stones and sat there for a while, in the wind and the sun, staring across the fields at the ruins on Haunted Hill. Here, haunted means possessed, ruins means collapsed building. Then all the three took some rest sitting on the flat stones, speaking about the haunted hill and the ruins. I must go to the bazaar today, said Usha. I wish I could come too, said Binya. But I have to help with the cows and the housework. Mother isn't well. I can come, said Suresh. He was always ready to visit the bazaar, which was 3 miles away on the other side of Haunted Hill. No, you can't, said Usha. You must help grandfather chop wood. Their father was in the army, posted in a distant part of the country, and Suresh and his grandfather were the only men in the house. Suresh was 8, chubby, and almond eyed. Won't you be afraid to come back alone? He asked. Why should I be afraid? Now, see the explanation. Usha planned to go for the weekly shopping. Binya wished to join Usha, but she couldn't. Her mother wasn't well. She had to help with the cows and the housework. Suresh. Suresh, Usha's younger brother, 8 years old. The father was in the army, posted in a distant part of the country. Grandfather lived with them. He used to tell them many stories. Suresh was too willing to join her, but he had to help Grandpa. Suresh was worried about Usha's return from the bazaar in the evening, passing the haunted hill. There are ghosts on the hill. I know, but I will be back before it gets dark. Ghosts don't appear during the day. Are there many ghosts in the ruins? Asked Binya. Grandfather says so. He says that many years ago, over 100 years ago, English people lived on the hill, but it was a bad spot, always getting struck by lightning, and they had to move to the next range and build another place. But if they went away, why should there be any ghost? Because grandfather says during a terrible storm, one of the houses was hit by lightning and everyone in it was killed. Everyone, including the children. Were there many children? Now see the explanation. Grandfather said over 100 years ago, an English family lived on the hill. One day, all the family members, including the two children, were killed by the lightning, and he had seen the two children playing in the moonlight near the ruins even now during night time. He said that ghosts don't appear during the day, only they appear during the darkness or during the night time. That's why Suresh was bothered about Usha's return in the darkness. There were two of them, a brother and sister. Grandfather says he has seen them many times. When he passed through the ruins late at night, he has seen them playing in the moonlight. Wasn't he frightened? No, old people don't mind seeing ghosts. Usha set out on her walk to the bazaar at 2 in the afternoon. It was about an hour's walk. She went through the fields now turning yellow with flowering mustard, then along the saddle of the hill and up to the ruins. See the explanation. Usha set out to the bazaar at 2 in the afternoon, passing the yellow with flowering mustard fields and ruins. The path went straight through the ruins. Usha knew it well. She had often taken it while going to the bazaar to do the weekly shopping or to see her aunt who lived in the town. Wild flowers grew in the crumbling walls. A wild plum tree grew straight out of the floor of what had once been a large hall. Its soft white blossoms had begun to fall. Lizards scuttled over the stones, while a whistling thrush, its deep purple plumage glistening in the soft sunshine, sat in an empty window and sang its heart out. Usha sang to herself as she tripped lightly along the path. Soon she had left the ruins behind. The path dipped steeply down to the valley and the little town with its struggling bazaar. Ruined house had crumbly or broken walls with wild flowers, and a plum tree grew with white flowers falling down at the middle of the large hall of the ruined building. She saw a lizard on the stones and birds singing out his heart on the empty window. Usha was little scared seeing all these, and so she started singing to herself, and soon she reached the bazaar. Usha took her time in the bazaar. She bought soap and matches, spices and sugar. None of these things could be had in the village, where there was no shop, and a new pipe stem for her grandfather's hookah, and an exercise book for Suresh to do a sums in. As an afterthought, she bought him some marbles. Then she went to a Mochi's shop to have her mother's slippers repaired. The Mochi was busy, so she left the slippers with him and said she had be back in half an hour. She had 2 rupees of her own saved up, and she used the money to buy herself a necklace of amber colored beads from an old Tibetan lady who sold charms and trinkets from a tiny shop at the end of the bazaar. Usha met her aunt Lakshmi, who took her home for tea. Usha spent an hour in Aunt Lakshmi's little flat above the shops, listening to her aunt talk about the ache in her left shoulder and the stiffness in her joints. She drank 2 cups of sweet hot tea, and when she looked out of the window, she saw that dark clouds had gathered over the mountains. There she bought soap, matches, spices, sugar, and a new pipe stem for her grandfather, exercise book for Suresh to do sums, and some marbles for him too. Then she left her mother's slippers at the cobbler's to repair, as the cobbler was very busy. She told him that she will get back in half an hour half an hour time. After that, she bought an amber colored necklace from an old Tibetan lady with her savings of 2 rupees. There she met her aunt Lakshmi, who took Usha to her flat above the shops for tea, and there she spent an hour listening to an aunt complaining about her pains in the joints and bones and spinal, so on. When the dark clouds gathered over mountains, she hurried home after collecting her mother's slippers from the cobbler. Usha ran to the cobbler's and collected her mother's slippers. The shopping bag was full. She slung it over her shoulder and set out for the village. With the section 1 comes to an end, summarize the section 1 in few sentences. Usha started to the bazaar at 2 in the afternoon, walked an hour to reach. She took her time in the bazaar and spent 1 hour with Aunt Lakshmi, and she started to come back to the village. Kids, this is for your homework. Find the hidden words in the pictures. Solve these riddles. Okay. Submit your homework on time. I hope you all understood this story, The Wind on Haunted Hill, section 1. Okay, thank you so much.